Hey everyone. Splatoon is a franchise incredibly near and dear to me. Splatoon is effectively the game that got me into gaming, and I have a deep appreciation for the game, its lore, and the game's fanbase. I have a lot of thoughts surrounding Splatoon, and today I wanted to start to take you all on a trip through my ultimate Splatoon Iceberg. There are already other Splatoon Icebergs, but usually they only cover the lore, or only the music, or only the Splatfests. That, or they're outdated, having been made before Splatoon 3. While it's still a work in progress as of starting this video, I've tried my best to make this chart as extensive as possible and cover all the bases I can think of. Of course, an iceberg video wouldn't be complete without an explanation of ye olde iceberg chart. You start at the top with surface level knowledge above sea level, info that's just the tip of the iceberg. The further you go down, things get more and more obscure. This chart is no exception. Also, two things of note. Firstly, I'm going to refer to Inklings and Octolings interchangeably when I can. Sometimes context clues are going to make it clear I'm only talking about one or the other, but I don't want to constantly be saying Inklings and Octolings all the time. Secondly, this iceberg is going to have videos in parts due to its sheer mass. In this video, I'll be covering layers 1 and 2, but other layers will be split up into their own videos. I'll also likely be making a mega compilation when everything's said and done, but for now, it just makes my workload easier. With all that said, let's take a dive into the ultimate Splatoon Iceberg. Within the Splatoon universe, humans are completely extinct due to rising sea levels. They either died, fled underground, or fled to space, and then also died. Not much else to say here, but we'll talk more about the humans later. Callie and Marie are, drumroll please, actually cousins. They're called Sea of Colors in Japan, so no confusion there. It's unknown why they're called the Squid Sisters in English, maybe it just sounds more marketable. Either way, it stuck. This is a common fan theory that, similarly to Callie being brainwashed in Splatoon 2 by her sunglasses, the Octolings must all be brainwashed by extension, due to how much they seem to hate Octarian society after leaving. This can be proven false. Octolings have been shown acting of their own free will before, with one even wanting her goggles back. They're more so brainwashed by propaganda anyways, supposedly kept in line with music. Official teas for the Mushroom vs. Star Fest, Grand Fest, that Scarlet Violet Pokemon Fest, and the Zelda Fest exist. I'm pretty sure there's more, I just didn't spot. Also, of course, official ones being sold on Etsy and whatnot, they're abundant. Within Arc Polaris, you can spot signs in English stating Active Bear Area. Obviously, this was foreshadowing for Return of the Mammalians, but to my knowledge, this is actually the only instance of English writing in the games. Iconic trailer, eye-catching, makes me want to play the game. Need I say more?
Kid, you're a squid, you're a kid, you're a squid, you're a kid now!
Pearl says the Octolings are just Inklings with funny hair during the Splatcast after you buy Octo Expansion. This shows that Inklings are too stupid to realize Octolings are an entirely different species, though this might only be an Inkopolis. The Great Turf War was a major event in the lore. It was fought between the Inklings and Octolings a century ago for land when the sea levels rose. The Inklings were victorious because of their superior number of tentacles, and because the Octo weapons utilized cabled plugs that were pulled from their sockets. Shifty stations were custom stages made by Marina exclusively for Splatfests. They all had special gimmicks that stemmed from Octarian technology due to Marina's past with them. Some Splatfests had gear released by Nintendo News to coincide with times of the year. Of note were Spooky Fest, Spring Fest, Summer Fest, and the Final Fest, which all had special gear. There have been a few times now where Nintendo has hosted real-life concerts in Japan with the idols singing music from the games. This was done a la Vocaloid concerts, using similar hologram technology. This was a glitch in which players can swap the face masks of Inklings and Octolings between species. If you saved data to an amiibo of an Inkling or Octoling, then swapped to the other species, then entered the store, and then used the amiibo to switch your outfit, this would result in your Inkling or Octoling having the wrong hair and, I believe, teeth used for their species. There have been various promo Splatfests used over the games. Real-world brands that have collaborated with Splatoon include Maruchan, Transformers, Kura Sushi, Saga Prefecture, Pokemon, Dragon Quest, SpongeBob, Miitomo, Meiji, McDonald's, Uniqlo, Nike, Jamstack, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Sanrio, Glico, Smash Bros, Nippon Professional Baseball, Mario Bros, 7-Eleven, and Calbee. Most have been exclusive to Japan, if you don't recognize some of these brand names. Sometimes, jellyfish can be seen extending their tentacles into their surroundings, be it water or the pavement. It's been confirmed in interviews that they're just getting a drink. It's become a common practice in the games to respond to another player who has booyah'd by booyahing back. Sometimes it chains for a little while, and it's supposedly good luck to do this. I and a lot of other players do it out of habit anyways. Sunken Scrolls are main collectibles in the single-player modes that add world building to the game. There are a little around 20 in each game, and they're all compiled by each agent in-game. They all have little notes on random elements within the game's world and story. When Salmon Run was first announced, it was done so with a VHS recruitment tape style recording going over the mode, complete with staticky effects and even a MIDI rendition of Splatak. Analog horror, eat your heart out. While more clearly displayed in Splatoon 3, the back of the amiibo box present in the plaza and square were textured but not visible. It could only be seen via clipping out of bounds and looking behind it. Nice detail. The Japanese magazines Korokoru and Famitsu released exclusive gear for people in, you guessed it, Japan. Some of the gear even got their own trailers, complete with custom songs. The Western fans were not happy about this exclusivity for obvious reasons. Because of this, region-exclusive gear is no longer a thing in Splatoon 3. If an Inkling or Octoling touches the water, they're seen flailing and then dissolving. While initially this was just a gamification of a level hazard, it's likely due to their thin skin, with ink leaching out of it in the water. Either way, this is seemingly a unique trait to the species, and ironic because of their origins from the sea. Ink sometimes has a special style to it. This is seen in the single players with glittery and marbled ink, but it can also be seen in the Frosty Fest, Splatoon 2's Final Fest, the Summer Fest, the Spring Fest, for example. There's an apartment in Splatoon 1's splash screen that is, sadly, never accessible. It even had a map on the gamepad showing an Inkling leaving. Despite how much players wanted to access this apartment, it has never shown up again, and the closest we have currently is the locker system. 100x battle odds are incredibly rare, depending on the number of festival shells each participating player has. One team can activate them at a time. Even rarer are 333x battles, if the opposing teams activate 100x battles at the same time. Splatoon's first ever prototype had the wonderful idea of blocks of tofu shooting ink out of their noses. They couldn't enter the ink, but they were meant to camouflage into the ink they shot out. Another idea was rabbits, due to their territorial nature. They were either black or white to distinguish between the ink, and they had under their shirts, which is the same color as the ink. Both these concepts were scrapped to get the squids that we know today, but the rabbit concept was pushed heavily for a while, with a lot of concept art being made for it. Top 100 players in Splatfest are published after a fest concludes, and it's based on Splatfest power. Not much else to say about the subject, I just thought that I should include it. Early on in Splatoon 1's lifetime, people found ways to hack the game to play as the enemy Octolings. They had full compatibility with ink color and gear, had their own unique eye masks, which were never seen under their visors, and even had their own form of kraken, with the tentacles curling up. People who used these hacks caused some problems later on down the line, but we'll talk more about that later. For the Callie vs. Marie Splatfest, Calamari Incantation would play instead of the usual songs heard during a Splatfest. The Inklings and Octolings all speak and write in a fictional, mostly fully functional language. More on this later, however, I will note that the verbal language is complete gibberish and doesn't translate to anything in most instances. In Splat 1, if you wait around either before or after killing a boss, you can hear some creepy screams and metallic clanging emanating from the domes. Nobody knows who added them, and nobody knows what they originate from, as revealed in an interview. They're also present in the Octo Samurai's boss fights in Splatoon 2 and Octo expansion, but only that boss, for some reason. Strange. Due to how close they are geographically, Inkopolis Plaza is visible from Inkopolis Square. Inklings have been shown to have no bones. This is why they're so flexible and why they're able to change into squid form so easily. They likely have some form of soft cartilage given Cuttlefish's bony appearance, but that's speculation and my personal headcanon. He does mention his cuttle bones, but that's likely just a figure of speech. Bandana 1 has a back that is never seen in-game, and 2 makes no sense because Inklings have no bones. It's likely just an imagining of what their would look like and exists just to look cool, which I would say it achieves. The Octarians have been facing a power crisis in all 3 games, hence why they steal the Zapfish. Without power sources, the domes they live in have been collapsing, which is why they're so desperate. Many stages and single-player levels in all 3 games feature decals with bloopers and Octorocks from Mario and Zelda respectively. The Squid Jump minigame, I Miss You, has box art similar to the Famicom release of Super Mario Bros. There's also giant floating Nintendo consoles in Octo expansion. Marina states at one point that the sanitized Octarians have no pulse or signs of life, implying that they're dead and just reanimated by tartars and primordial ooze. This was also stated in dev interviews. In the corner of all three games' sunken scrolls, if you flip through the whole book, a little animation will play in the corner, like a flip book. Most weapons in Splatoon are made due to brand partnerships with clothing brands. The Deco weapons, Crack-On Splat Roller, Ford Splattershot Pro, all the Neo weapons, etc. It's incredibly common to see these partnerships, but some weapon brands lack any explanation or even names sometimes. This is an alternate name for the fax machine that gives out the Splatfest themes. The Inklings treat it in Splatfests almost like a religion, and there's even Splatfest laws. Good to know Inkling culture has a poor separation of church and state. People often interpret English vocals when listening to Splatoon songs. Some songs are designed to include this, but most instances are unintentional. There's an official Splatoon manga released by Koro, very clearly made for kids. I haven't personally read it, so I don't know much about it, but it sure exists. It's also completely non-canon, so there's that. The grape zapfish can sometimes be spotted flying in Splatoon 2. Love that it gets some free time off the tower. It can also be seen swimming in the water surrounding Piranha Pit around the 1 minute left mark. Additionally, maybe this doesn't count as an Easter egg, but after it returns in Splatoon 3, you can spot a tiny little hair on its head. This footwear marks the first time we ever saw Inkling feet, and people went ape over it at the time. We'll get into details later, but long story short, World War V happened, and all the humans died out due to rising sea levels. Sea life evolved and took over the remaining land, and from what we know, the majority of remaining land looks like a waste. Main weapons often get redesigned between games. Additionally, the Rainmaker of Splatoon 1 was redesigned. Not much else to say other than this just happens. Callie sided with the Octarians in 2 after losing Callie vs. Marie, and Splatsville is a land of chaos after Chaos 1 in Chaos vs. Order, with the Memverse being a land of complete order made by Marina. As of now, we aren't sure what's going to happen in the next mainline game, with Past having won Grandfest. Spike and Murch eat the super sneeze snails you give them by removing them from their shells with a screwdriver, reflecting how real urchins eat sea snails. Live snails are also often seen shaking in fear around the two. An empty shell can also be seen on a grill in Piranha Pit, implying they might not just be eaten by urchins. This is a classic activity in which the player, often with other players, repeatedly presses and lets go of the ZL button. Oftentimes, players who do this disregard the objective of the match if already in a game. This is also often done in Three's lobby, or just to kill time in general. Squid bagging is a form of this practice meant to taunt a player after a kill, and is often seen as bad form. Judd was put in cryogenic sleep by his owner, as well as injected with medicines to keep him alive for much longer. It was confirmed in the second art book that Judd is actually immortal due to this. Nintendo of America is responsible for translating the game for English releases, and sometimes things get lost in translation or are intentionally changed for the Western audience. There have been many instances where this has led to confusion from the fandom. More on that later. Occasionally, you can hear songs that play in Splatoon 1 and 2's battle modes play in the lobby of Splatoon 3. You can also play them at will using the jukebox. A lot of people are under the impression that Little Buddy is more so a pet than a whole-ass person. This is false. Salmonids are sentient. It's also been stated that Little Buddy sticks with Neo 3 because they give him food. They are friends. He is not a pet. Splatoon can be very rage-inducing. People angry over the game are often called salty, and there's a subreddit called r/Saltoon dedicated to people venting their frustrations, often to humorous effect from an outsider looking in. The noises Inkling and Octomine girls make respectfully. They have become iconic within the community and are used frequently. Pearlina is the pairing of Pearl and Marina in a romantic relationship. While never outright stated to be official, their behavior in Octo Expansion and especially Side Order makes it seem like Marina is pining over Pearl. They even said "I love you" during this final fest. Yeah, I think these squids are gay. Small Fry and Neo 3 met when 3 was hunting for scrap to sell in the Splatlands. Small Fry had gotten separated from his original school during a run and formed a bond with 3 because 3 fed him. It's unknown why Small Fry got separated from his original school, though. All 3 idols come from major historical clans in the Splatlands, and it's implied they're rich through that. They all have a sort of Robin Hood thing going on, though. They hunt for scrap and treasure and whatnot to give money to the poor in Splatsville. It's implied that all mammals, including marine ones, are extinct. Marina mentions her narwhal landlord in the Unicorns vs. Narwhals Splatfest, but only in the English version of the game. Due to this, narwhals being around can likely be just discredited. While marine mammals like whales appear in things like logos, it's likely this is akin to how we treat dinosaurs. There's even a whale skeleton in Schellendorf Institute. Judd, Little Judd, and Mr. Grizz are the only exceptions, as they've been around since the time of humans. After he goes on his Wonder Crust journey, Krusty Sean's Crust Bucket truck can be spotted in Mincemeat Metalworks. Kind of a no-shit entry, but Tartar gets test subjects in the Deep Sea Metro to get the fangs and make the blender, leading to their demise. These blended up remains are used in sanitized ink in order to keep it pure, if I recall correctly. Splatnet 2 and 3 are sub-applications of the Nintendo Phone app. It gives players important info like match rotations, player stats, and previous matches, and it allows for the player to buy gear and access Wonder Crust. These are ink colors that didn't appear normally for somewhat obvious reasons, appearing similar to certain bodily fluids. Some similar colors have appeared in Splatfests, like the Chocolate Splatfest or Mayo vs. Ketchup, however, they're not in normal rotation. Close to the top of the list in the most embarrassing ways to get splatted in the game, this can occur in Anchovy Games or Marlin Airport due to their lifts, which utilize propellers that spew ink out of the top. The fax machine messages are misinterpreted as divine messages, hence the Splatfests to honor them. I already went over this, so not much new to say. Sepia Go was a ripoff of Splatoon for Android devices. It very closely copied the game, including Turf War and single player, while being limited due to its platform. It is no longer available for purchase. Scorch Gorge, due to its tall remains of hydrothermal vents, is a well-known national park. Kinda shocking since people can turf on it, but oh well. There was a decent amount of rematch Splatfests over the course of 3 games. The most recent, as of me writing this, was Zombie vs. Skeleton vs. Ghost for Halloween, but this also includes the Chocolate Splatfest, Mayo vs. Ketchup, Chicken vs. Egg, Trick vs. Treat, and technically Wizard vs. Knight with the new edition of Ninja. In one instance, Marie can ask Agent 4 about pineapple-free pizza from the future, referencing delicious versus disgusting, burger versus pizza, and past versus future. Small Fry appears in all 3 hub areas, just hanging out in various spots. Not much to comment on, he's just hanging around and it's honestly kinda cute. This is intentionally a very broad entry, as I'll be highlighting some specifics later on down the line. However, the franchise has had a large amount of unused gear throughout all 3 games, some of which was found in odd ways in odd places. That SRB2 dude's Inkling was frequently spotted scheming and being generally devious in front of the Grisco building after Splat 3's test fire, and quickly became the game's first meme due to how comical it was. Dude even remade it in real life. Ink disappears after battles due to microbes eating it, according to Sunken Scroll number 14. It's an in-universe explanation for playing on the same map and not seeing any ink, but it's unknown exactly how long it takes for the ink to disappear. Some special Splatfests have alternate battle intro themes, such as Frosty Fest, Spring Fest, Summer Fest, and the Final Fests. In partnership with the Squid Girl manga, a set of gear was made that looks like the main character. The manga's author, Masahiro Anabe, hope I pronounced that right, has also drawn Splatoon fan art before. In Sunken Scroll number 5, there's a reference to Diamond is Unbreakable. This scroll is also notable for being unclear on whether it shows an Octoling or an Octarian. There was an alternate model for non-enemy Octolings found in the game's files, which was used for playing as Octolings in Splatoon 1. This implies that they were intended to be playable from the start. In some songs in Octo Canyon, reversed vocals can be heard. When re-reversing in an audio editor, it turns out it's actually Callie's vocals from different songs, foreshadowing her presence as the final boss. It makes me personally wonder how Turquoise October managed to use vocals from Calamari Incantation, though. Octavio is shown to have a humanoid form 2 times. Once in the Sunken Scrolls, where he can be seen talking to Cuttlefish, and another in Octo Expansion's chat logs, where he can be seen fighting Cuttlefish. At some point during the Great Turf War, he was injured and can no longer return to his humanoid form, likely hence the green scars seen in his Octo form. Splat Tim was a random Inkling boy who fatefully chose Team Dog for the Cats vs. Dogs Splatfest. Via the power of photo editing, he became a legend, and he does it. Initially, the paths to other zones are blocked out in Octo Valley, unless you beat all the levels first. However, with very precise movement, you can move around the barrier and skip the entirety of World 4 and continue to play as normal. This is a trick often used in speedrunning. In all games, the idols will wave to the player if they stand outside their studio windows. However, in 2, Pearl and Marina will wave differently as you play as an Octoling specifically, as they were involved with a going to the surface and they recognize you. If you look towards the sea from Crableg Capital, you can see Hagglefish Market in the distance. Hagglefish was also updated to have Crableg Capital be seen in the distance when the stage was added. This was a community meme surrounding the first Big Run, which was on Wahoo World. People who didn't like the stage fully wanted the Salmonids to take it, and they can have it. You know what? Kinda based, in my opinion. Finalizing on squids was a struggle for the devs initially, going from tofu to rabbits and so on, as already mentioned. During this time period, Shigeru Miyamoto gave his blessing to turn the game into a Mario spin-off as a last resort. There were screenshots taken of this, with the player becoming Mario or Yoshi, but thankfully, we got inklings in the end. In Splatoon 1's private battle password screen, you can play Calamari Incantation on the numbers. Before humanity's complete downfall, they had a total of 5 world wars, leading to somebody nuking both the North and South poles. This caused the sea levels to rise drastically, and people either fled to underground caves, fled to space, or died. It should be noted that Judd's unique ability of being able to judge a battle's victor was used at this time. This is something Marina says during the Chickens vs. Eggs Splatfest results. Uh-oh. Salmonid meat can be found in Mako Mart in a freezer. This is because salmonids want to be eaten, and they see it as a great honor upon death. You can also spot grilled whole salmonids in Mahi Mahi Resort, strengthening this. In Octo Expansion, it's revealed that Pearl sang an incredibly vulgar song called "Fucking Dudes Be Fucking Sleeping" that was banned from the radio. There are giant doors on the initial platform of the Deep Sea Metro, considering Inklings are around 5 feet tall. This is likely because some of the evolved sea life has evolved to be massive, such as the sea angel and the blobfish. It's still pretty jarring to look at, though. Using amiibos, you could play as the Inkling squid, girl, and boy, as well as Callie and Marie in the game, using costume mushrooms. It also had custom sound effects for each character, and some dedicated levels were released to unlock the costumes if you didn't have an amiibo. The taunting gesture the Inkling made in Mario Kart was at first essentially an equivalent to "fuck you" in other countries, particularly because of the hand on the bicep. It was patched out and changed to a similar rabble-rousing gesture instead, and remains to this day. Special gold coins were given out to the top 100 players of both teams, as well as 100 random players for the Mario 35th Anniversary Splatfest. As there are only 300 available, they are incredibly rare and incredibly valuable. Putz12 was a streamer of the games, most commonly known for how often he raged, and maybe he could be considered a lolcow, maybe? Either way, he's well known for being incredibly loud, beating the shit out of his desk, often hard enough that the switch jumps out of its TV port, leading to no signal screens, and blocking players he doesn't like, to the point that he was likely the first person to find out that there was a limit on how many people you could ban.
It's the same fucking story! Nobody moves up, nobody inks, nobody kills, it's all fucking shark defense! Make sure they can get the fucking zone over us! Jesus Christ! Of course it's a double digit loss! Get the fuck out!
The worst of his behavior was shown off at an in-person tournament. The story goes that someone was unable to play, and a competitor let his daughter play in the person's place. The team lost, and Putz got so angry that he screamed at and cussed out the daughter, causing her to cry. He also almost broke tournament equipment, and both of these things caused him to get banned from that tournament. Today, he's not streaming the game anymore, but reports of him still being online have been somewhat frequent. In Splatoon 3, the tactical boosts your movement speed, jump, and respawn, allows you to save specials after death, and allows you to take more damage. For this reason, it's absolutely insane in the meta. Some people accessed Splatoon 3 early and began uploading footage of the single player online en masse, as well as dumping the files online too. An account on Twitter called Splatoon 3 Leaks was at the forefront of this, and many people spread the word to avoid that account for spoilers. The Salmonids and Octarians have a trade agreement in which the Salmonids give their power eggs and the Octarians give their tech. This is why the power eggs in single player, and why the Salmonids have pieces of Octarian tech. While playing tower control in Splatoon 1's Piranha Pit, if you used a brush or roller and stood on the conveyor belts and then slammed down your weapon on the tower, you could effectively bend your Inkling in half, showing how boneless they truly are. Occasionally while idling, Small Fry can sing Calamari Incantation and Happy Little Workers. A few different pieces of concept art exist of the previous designs for Commander Tartar's final form. One had him becoming the Blender, another had him busting out spider-like legs from the phone box, one had him hanging from the ceiling surrounded by IV bags, and another had him similarly hanging but with cables instead of IVs. Taco Zones is a portmanteau of taco, Japanese for octopus, and Amazon, likely because the Octolings are all female warriors, or Amazonian. It's a term used in the files to refer to the enemy Octolings exclusively, as the playable Octolings, even the alternate playable Splatoon 1 model, are only referred to as taco. Splatoon has a lot of unique weapon inspiration, from sinks to power tools to industrial heaters to modified fishing rods to window wipers to shoes. It's really unique, and it leads to a lot of fun weapon designs. The Book of Madai seems to be a religious text for Inklings, shown in the Sunken Scrolls. It predicts the 7 rings that appear in Big Run as a biblical event. Splatoon often features usage of leitmotifs within its songs, for example, Onward, Calamari Incantation, and Splatak. Marina made a manga where she's super clumsy and flustered, and Pearl is drawn like a typical male anime love interest, complete with sparkles and flowers. Overall, more fuel for Pearlina being real. It's incredible. You can no longer play Splatoon 1 in official capacity, as the Wii U servers shut down in 2024. Rest in peace. You can still play using other methods, though. For the longest time, the gold dynamo roller was shown off in promo material for Splatoon 3, but wasn't added. This finally changed on September 1st, 2023. The weapon was absent for around 2.5 fucking years. Splatoon 3 will reuse your data from your Splatoon 2 save. In particular, it'll make Agent 3 the same between both games, and use your Inkling's hair for the parallel canon, using data from Octo Expansion and normal Splatoon 2, respectively. After the end of Return of the Mammalians, Mr. Grizz is dead, so he obviously can't control Grizzco anymore, yet the company still functions afterwards. It's theorized that Little Judd takes over. In Table Turf, his card sleeve is the Salmon Run sleeve, and his cards are also mostly made up of Salmonids. He also gains a headset, but only after you finish the campaign. While Mr. Grizz's voice is still present in the mode, it's likely that it's just his voice recordings, as theorized by many players even before Return of the Mammalians. Alright everyone, that's it for part 1 of my Ultimate Splatoon Iceberg. We'll be exploring even more of the iceberg in the next video, so make sure you stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when my videos come out. Additionally, feel free to hit the like button if you liked the video, and if you have any comments about the video, any fun facts you know about the franchise, anything I might have gotten wrong, or even just random bullshit, feel free to leave it below. It might even become part of the iceberg in the future. With all that said, see you next time. I'm out.